Hi, I'm Aria Larker, and you are listening to my podcast, All Things Acting with Aria, a place where I talk to creatives about this wonderful, crazy, and painful career we call acting. If you are not an actor, please do stay tuned, because though this podcast is called All Things Acting, we will also discuss the general torturous but rewarding life as a creative. Hello and welcome back to my podcast. I am very excited about today's guest. Today we have a wonderful actor joining us, and I'm so honoured to have actually been able to share the same stage as him. So, Angus, welcome to my podcast.
Thank you, Aria.
Thank you for joining us.
My pleasure.
For my viewers and listeners who maybe don't know much about you, can you tell us a little bit about who Angus is?
Well, I'm 26 years old. I live in Birmingham, almost my entire life, really. And I've graduated from the Royal Birmingham Conservatoire and back in 2016. So I've been in the industry for about 4 to 5 years now. What else? I've done a range of jobs in that time, from stage and screen and voice acting. Been to Pinewood Studios and Molyneux Studios once or twice to do some recordings for, some films and video games. Most recently, because of this lockdown, I have become something of a Tik Tok influencer with almost 230,000 followers.
Oh my God, well done, Angus. That's amazing. And I've seen some of your TikToks. They're hilarious and so imaginative. And I think it's also a great way that you can use your voice acting a bit more as well in your characters.
Yeah, it keeps me creative.
Fabulous, fabulous. Well, for those who are listening and are maybe sort of new to the acting industry, or maybe thinking of it as a future career, can you tell us a little bit more about drama school and maybe what happened after it? How did you go about finding an agent?
I've always wanted to be an actor,
Mm-hmm.
and drama school definitely helped me achieve that. In that it helped me explore different methodologies and practitioners, finding the one that suited me,
Mm-hmm.
and also in securing an agent, really, because at the end of the 3 years, there's a showcase where we perform in front of agents, and we have the chance of getting signed. Of course, it doesn't guarantee you get an instant agent, but it's jolly good if it goes well and you do. But also, drama school is very important because it's the place to make all the mistakes. And it's very much a journey of self-discovery as it is honing your craft and finding out finding your method of acting.
Yeah.
Also, I forgot to mention in my introduction, sorry, which I think is partly the whole point of this interview, is that I have Aspergers syndrome. There we go. Finally got there in the end. I'm sort of low on the spectrum. We're all on there somewhere, but it's no big deal. I've got Aspergers. And I think also drama school, in a weird way, sort of helped me sort of work with my Aspergers, if that makes sense. Because it gives you a taste of what, the professional demands of being an actor is like. And also there's so many different avenues that you sample in drama school. There's singing, there's dance, there's stage combat. So you get to sort of broaden your horizons, as it were, within the acting world, and just find out, okay, either sort of add strings to your bow and feathers to your cap, or maybe sort of discover, oh, okay, I like dance more, or I like stage combat more. I'm going to pursue that. So, but in terms of securing an agent, once you've gone through drama school, as I said, there's a showcase. But if you don't get an agent after that, it's I won't lie to you, it's not easy, and it's even harder now. I've had 2 acting agents since my career, and I'm currently on the lookout for my 3rd. But I think really, I'm sure I'm just telling you what you've heard a million times before, but here's 1,000,001. You just got to be persistent, invite them to a show again. That's very difficult now. they're all different. Some of them like invitations to shows, some of them like letters written to them, some like, emails. But you just got to be persistent. You've got to keep emailing them. What I do right now is I have all these draft emails to various acting agencies that I like, and I update them when I need to, and then after a suitable amount of time has elapsed since my last email, I then send another. I just keep prodding them, keep reminding them, hey, remember me? Just be persistent. It can feel like you're beating your head against a brick wall, but I don't know what else to tell you. That's what I've been told, and that's all I can really suggest.
Yeah, and I think a lot of acting also is to do with that admin side and making time to ensure that you're researching other agents and you're researching maybe classes that you can join or other opportunities in your local area. It's like you said, drafting emails and having a bank of them maybe, and also ensuring that you're tailoring them to every single agent. 'Cause I'm sure agents get a whole load of emails that look copied and pasted. So if you can point out a client of theirs that you're a big fan of, or if you're emailing a casting director and you particularly enjoyed their casting in a certain production, then that's something that you can bring up and shows that you've done your little bit of research.
Certainly, of course.
Yeah. Now, I want to come back to you mentioning your Aspergers. Now, I have had the great pleasure of working with you, and during the very beginning of our sort of rehearsal process, you were quite open about your autism, and sort of that really helped me as a fellow cast member, because throughout the process, if there were ever moments where maybe you needed to take some space, and be by yourself a little bit, I understood that because you had addressed it. Is this something that you do a lot during your sort of projects that you have? Do you usually sort of mention it to cast members or to directors? And also, when you do meet agents, is it something that you discuss with them, or is it something that you keep to yourself?
I find it's best to let people know as early as possible that I have Asperger's. Like during like the very first read through, or when I meet an agent for the first time, I do make it known. As I said, I'm fairly low on the spectrum. We're all on there somewhere. But it is the best thing. Yeah, it is good to be open about it and just get just put it out there, because it's having Asperger's as an actor. It's not that different from just being a regular actor, someone who doesn't. I might occasionally misinterpret certain social situations, or my enthusiasm might skyrocket, or I might make a mistake and sort of beat myself up about it a little bit more, but not unnecessarily so. But also the thing about Asperger's syndrome is that you're also yes, we may misinterpret certain social situations and cues, but we're also social chameleons. That's kind of why I'm an actor, because what we do is, what I mean by that is we observe people in social situations, we take on aspects of their personalities, we process them within ourselves, and then when we're ready, we present them to the world. That's acting. That's putting on a facade. And also, character is very important. Like, I sort of adopt the persona of different characters that I like to help me through certain situations, really. And also, I was diagnosed very young, so I'm able to recognize when I'm being irrational or I'm overthinking, and I'm able to just find balance and just approach it with a more level head. Because also it is important to, and also going back to what the question was, it is a good idea to address it, because then you don't feel so self-conscious about it in a way. You're not hiding anything. But as well as that, when it has been addressed, people are able to sort of they understand a little bit more. Though, of course, sometimes even when you do, some people don't understand. I once heard Asperger's was once referred to as an invisible disability, and you get sort of, and there's invisible prejudice that comes with it. Even when you explain it to people that you have it, they either don't understand, or they think you're making it up, or they just they think you're leaning on a crutch or making excuses. So, but honestly, it's best that they know. Yeah.
Yeah, and for my listeners and viewers who maybe don't know what Asperger's is, can you talk a little bit about that? Maybe more specifically in relation to you, and how it has maybe also helped your acting, because I personally think it has really helped your voice acting. And for those listening and viewing who haven't heard any of Angus's voice acting, please check it out on YouTube, because I listened to your show reel before this podcast, and oh my goodness, Angus, like it sounds like I'm watching a Disney film, or a really high quality animation film. And does it help you in any way? Like, does it help you maybe sort of get into the characters a bit more? And also, talking about voice acting, does something about not being able to see anyone help you?
Well, thank you very much for saying those kind words about my voice reel. But I definitely see Asperger's syndrome as more of a superpower than a kryptonite.
Amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Because as I said, I was diagnosed very young, and I'm able to recognize the sort of negative aspect of it, like the overthinking and the being irrational. But I've also, found a way to live with it, and when you learn to harness it, it is definitely a superpower. Again, sometimes I question, I'm only human. I do have doubts. I do question thinking, okay, well, if I misread certain social situations and social cues, how can that be believable as an actor acting in a social situation? But then I go back to what I said about being a chameleon. Anthony Hopkins, he has Asperger's, and he did not have the luxury of being diagnosed from a young age. He was diagnosed fairly recently, and he's what, 60?
Wow.
He's quite old now, but it makes perfect sense that he is an actor, because, like I said, the way it helps my acting is, I'm just repeating what I said earlier, which is basically we're social chameleons. We observe people in situations or characters that we feel reflect certain aspects of a character we've been given, and we process it and we emulate it in some way, and then we present it in a social situation. And that's basically acting. We're all people with Asperger's. We're constantly acting. With me, I have all this enthusiasm, and it can be a bit much. I can be over enthused, so I have to sort of reel it in a little bit and sort of suppress some of the positive emotions that I feel. That's not a bad thing. It's a bit intense for people. That's the thing about me. I can be a bit intense. So that's another potential advantage. Like, my commitment, I think, to the characters I play is 100%. When I'm in the scene, nothing really breaks my concentration. So, and that's another thing about Asperger's syndrome. We're very passionate about things that we love, to the point where, with me anyway, it can become almost obsessive and, like I said, intense. And I might have, but I'm able to recognize that and reel it back, because that was one thing I struggled with in drama school. I cared about it so much, it made me super, super tense. And what I learned at drama school is I've got to sort of relax and ease into it and find balance and everything, because that's when really natural acting occurs. In terms of voice acting, I think people with Asperger's syndrome, we're blessed with quite a vivid imagination. So it doesn't really matter if we're not really necessarily acting alongside someone. We can fill in the gaps ourselves. And life is all about finding what you enjoy and, a sort of an occupation that fulfills you most. And that's never been more true with people with Asperger's syndrome. People with Asperger's syndrome might excel with one thing, but not in another. But that's what we all have to go through. So just ditch the thing you don't excel at and just do what you love. And the way that relates to voice acting is I've always enjoyed impressions, and I've got a good ear for accents. And like I said, I've always enjoyed acting and performing. So I if there's ever a lull in the conversation, I will just showcase a few impressions that I do, and it's just something I care about, and I have an ear for, and fortunately, there was an avenue where I could demonstrate that, and I suppose that's why I really enjoy voice acting.
And for my viewers and listeners who maybe don't know about voice acting and have now suddenly thought, oh, I'd quite like to give that a go. Do you have any advice or tips on how they can get started with voice acting?
Okay, the best thing to do, I think, is put yourself out there. The way it sort of what helped me was having a YouTube channel. And if you on your spot, and like for example, if you have Spotlight, sorry, I'm all over the place. If you have Spotlight, you can have more than one voice reel. You can have your commercial voice reel, which has all the essential things you need, like a commercial or a soft sell or a character reel. But you can also have a character voice reel, so you can have more than one reel on your Spotlight profile. I wasn't aware of this, so I've got my commercial voice reel and my character voice reel, which you can also put on your YouTube. It's a very good idea to put character and commercial voice reels on your YouTube page, so people can find you and listen to you. But also, even if it's not necessarily, I would encourage you to upload character and voice reels, but I would also encourage you, if you do enjoy impressions, film yourself doing impressions of anyone and anything you can do, because that's what I did. It doesn't have to be amazing quality. It definitely helps because YouTube is so it's quite very competitive now. But my point is, just put yourself out there. I remember when I just did this video of myself doing all these impressions of every actor who played Doctor Who there ever was, and because I was inspired by this one guy called Jacob Dudman, who just recorded himself in his room doing an impression of Matt Smith. It wasn't even that well done. He was literally like I am now, at his desk, bad lighting, bad quality video. He just did his best Matt Smith. And because he put himself out there, that then led to Big Finish audio dramas coming to him saying, listen, mate, we can't afford Matt Smith because he's Matt Smith. Do you want to be the unofficial official voice of Matt Smith? And he said, yes.
That's amazing.
And they also checked out his page and said, hey, you do a pretty good David Tennant too. Do you want to be David Tennant and the 10th Doctor? Yes, thank you. So my point is, I was inspired by him, and I decided to sort of do one better by doing every single actor who played the Doctor. And then that led to a very nice young man approaching me and then doing this fan passion project of his, where he wrote this poem, Ode to a Time Lord, where each Doctor would have his own stanza. And I was the 6th and 8th Doctor in that. And then that led to this wonderful lockdown project done through Doctor Who magazine, which was called Doctor Who Lockdown, which featured the voices of David Bradley from Game of Thrones and Harry Potter, who did the voice of William Hartnell, the first Doctor, and also John Culshaw from Dead Ringers, who does an Incredible Four, the 4th Doctor, Tom Baker. If I hadn't done that, that wouldn't have led to the poem, and that wouldn't have led to the wonderful crossover event. And who knows what it'll lead to next. In fact, actually, after that, I'm actually providing my impressions for another Doctor Who project. So my greatest hope is, and I have actually emailed Big Finish a couple of times, is that if I establish myself well enough within this wonderful community of impressionists, perhaps the same will happen to me with Jake Dudman. So my point is, just put yourself out there. And it doesn't even have to be that good. It helps if it's good. If you have the facilities and if you have the lighting and all that, then employ them. But just my point is, just put yourself out there. You'll never know unless you try. In terms of the voice acting for Molinaire and Pinewood, that was actually thanks to my second agent, my most recent agent. And I don't know how that was pulled off. I think really that was thanks to my agent, really, because of her connections.
Mm-hmm.
But my point is, I had no idea what it was. It's a funny story. She put it out that to everyone that, okay, hey guys, there's this video game coming up, and if you can do weird creature noises like monsters and do growling noises, then send them over to me. And I sort of thought nothing of it. I thought, okay, this is probably a student video game project. I can do silly voices and all that. Let's see what comes of it. What the heck? And like I said, I had no idea who it was for. I thought it was a student video game project. And then next thing I know, my agent then tells me, you're off to Pinewood Studios. You're going to be doing this huge video game. And I kept coming back. And then that led to me being part of the background sort of Foley vocals for the upcoming Kingsman film.
Amazing.
Well, yeah, hopefully. I mean, the thing is, it was amazing to be a part of it and see exclusive footage of the upcoming film that's coming out later this month, actually. But hopefully, if I really listen, I'll be able to hear myself in the sort of the background, the sort of whatever. But like I said, you just need a foot in the door. If it hadn't been, but okay, so getting the video game project, that was thanks to my agent. But because I made a good impression, because I was professional, I was punctual, I was passionate, I was nice. Just be nice. That's the key. They wanted to have me back. It can't hurt your chances, because I had a couple more voice auditions with Molinaire and Pinewood, and I think if you make a good impression on them, and you sort of establish yourself as a reliable actor, then your chances are greatly improved of being asked back for more, and that has happened.
Very true.
You still have to audition. So yeah, I don't know how it happened, but basically having an agent helps, but also it's 50% of the work. You've got to be professional and make a good first impression.
And I'm very glad that you actually brought that up, because in my last podcast with Louise Osborne, that's something that we spoke about quite a lot, especially in terms of auditions. Quite a lot of the time, a casting director will see your self-tape, and if they like you, they'll ask you to come in for a face-to-face audition, or right now it happens over Zoom. And at these auditions, quite a lot of the time, they know you can act. They saw your self-tape and they asked you to the audition because they already know that you can act. And now it's your chance to show them who you are, that you're a nice person to work with. Because at the end of the day, if there are two actors who are both brilliant, but one of them was nicer to talk to and they were really pleasant during the audition, odds are maybe that's the actor that's going to be picked, because maybe this casting director and the director says, do you know what, I'd quite like to work with them in the future. Let's go for this actor. So I'm very glad that you brought that up, because you're proof that it works. That, if someone likes you and you're polite and you're on time and you get the job done, then other opportunities arise. Great. Well, I have gotten so much out of this conversation already. At the very beginning of this podcast, you briefly mentioned TikTok. Can you tell us a little bit more about TikTok? What do you do on there? What is it?
Oh boy. Okay. Well, like I said, lockdown happened, and all the acting work dried up, and I was debating whether or not to join the app. And after being suggested to it by friends and family, I decided to join it. And I had no idea what TikTok was when I first joined it. I thought it was Vine 2.0. So I started out with my attempts at comedy videos, comedy sketches and the like. But I was very limited by props and costume and budget. And comedy is hard. It's very hard because, like art, it's subjective, and I didn't want to offend anyone, so I was constantly rethinking how. Okay, oh, I should probably rethink how I say that, or I can't use this because I might offend someone. People are so easily offended. But and I hate offending people. That's another thing about having Asperger syndrome for me. I If I feel like I've upset someone or offended someone, I freak out because I never want to do that.
Yeah.
A bit neurotic, but I'm learning to sort of control that. Anyway, the result of that was a lot of the comedy sketches were very tame and kind of white bread, kind of boring, sort of nah. So I would have thrown in the towel, honestly. I mean, they were fun, but I would have thrown in the towel with TikTok because I was floundering. Views were one video did marginally okay, but the rest were just being drowned. But the great thing about TikTok is there's this function on it called the duet function. And with this function, basically what happens is you're scrolling through the feed and you come across a video that you like, and you're able to select the duet function, which then splits the screen in two. You're on one side, the other person's on the other. As their video plays, you get to lip sync or mouth along with the dialogue that is not being spoken. In other words, you form one half of a duologue. And even though you're not it's kind of like acting in a virtual way. You're not. It's not sort of live. It's not like you're not there present with them. But for an actor, it's the next best thing. You don't. It's and it's very exciting because you're performing in some way. But also, and I did a lot of duets with a lot of people, and I got to interact with a lot of my favorite characters. But then I thought, I want to make people feel like this. I want to make them feel special. A moment of joy. That's what TikTok's all about, apparently. That's like one of the taglines. A moment of joy. And I realized that people who were just not, again, going back to being a nice person, people who were just nice on TikTok, who are wholesome, who are cinnamon rolls, just kind people who just make people feel good in the parameters of a minute-long video, which is the maximum time you're allowed. They do just as well as the comedians, if not better.
Nice.
And then I realized that I can do that, and also you're safe when you do that, because if your intention is just to cheer someone up, to make someone feel good, you can't offend anyone. People can take offense, certainly, but if they point fingers and just say, "Oh, you offended me," then they're just going to look silly because that wasn't your intention. Comedy can be misconstrued, and people can take offense so easily to that. But if you're just being nice for the sake of being nice, it's much harder to find fault with that because that's all you're trying to be. People can tell that. So I tried creating duettable content that people could join in with, and in a sort of almost a virtual reality kind of capacity. I started out with my first, so I dipped my toe into lots of different fandoms, from Star Wars to Harry Potter,
Nice.
And actually Harry Potter did the best. I invented this professorial Hogwarts wizard who teaches lessons in magic, and I threw together this eccentric costume.
Yeah.
I made him quite an eccentric, fun character, and you get to enter Hogwarts and you get to learn magic. And
I love it.
He's called Professor Borogrove, and he teaches you magic and potions at Hogwarts. And using the effects that TikTok had, and also just my imagination, I made them fun, interactive videos that people could either just join in with at home by grabbing up a pencil or a pen or a spoon and waving it like it's a wand, or they can go the whole hog and just duet the content and become immersed in the world of Harry Potter. The only downside to that was Professor Borogrove, my wizard character, he was entrenched in the world of Harry Potter. He wasn't original, and therefore I couldn't really make money off him, because the thing about TikTok is, if you get to a certain level, you can monetize yourself, you can get funding, and even ad companies can endorse their work through you. And also, even if one of your videos does well off of a trending hashtag, it can appear on the telly, and that's what happened to me. I duetted this sea shanty video called the Wellerman Song, and just because I dressed up as a sailor, TikTok approached me and said, "Hey, we'd love to air this. We'll pay you $2,000. Do you want to do it?" And I said, "Yes, absolutely."
Amazing.
Another thing about TikTok and also the acting industry, you've got to stand out. You've got to find out what makes you unique. So going back to what I now do on TikTok, I created an original character who I basically he's known as the TikTok butler. I had a dinner jacket at home.
Yes.
And I drew on a pencil mustache and I dubbed him Humphrey Wholesome, the TikTok butler. And what he does is when someone scrolls onto a video, the scenario is, if you leave a comment in the comment section, he will reply directly to that comment and fulfill a request for him. Like if someone asks him to make a pineapple upside down cake, I will then film myself making a pineapple upside down cake and present it to them as a sort of virtual genie of sorts. And people loved him.
Amazing.
The Humphrey Wholesome and TikTok Butler hashtag now has 4 million searches.
Oh my gosh, Angus, well done.
And again, and thank you very much. And again, the point of that on TikTok is you've got to stand out. There's one guy on TikTok called Scotty Wartooth. He's better known as the TikTok Jesus because he dresses up as Jesus and he does all this funny, wacky content. And that's who he's known as. No one else was doing that on the app when he joined. I realized there was no TikTok butler. And I realized that wholesome content did really well. Yeah. And I realized that people enjoy it when people respond to requests and comments with a video dedicated to them, mix it all together, and that's a recipe for success. There was no TikTok butler, so I filled the role. You've got to stand out on TikTok and in the industry.
Angus, I have learnt so much speaking to you already in this podcast session, and you are just such a, and you've said it as well, talking about your TikTok, but you are such a nice, wholesome person. And one thing I loved about you working with you in a play is you're really empathetic, and I feel like I can tell you anything, and you're really supportive and just such a nice person to know and speak to. This is me buttering you up because I'm about to ask you if, Angus, would you possibly like to share some of your favourite voiceover characters? Can we have it's a really sneaky question because I didn't ask you beforehand, but would you be willing to introduce us to one of your characters?
Right, okay. Well, in my voice reel, I think I have like a superhero, a supervillain, a mad scientist, a pirate, a gangster, a sort of ghostly thing. But I think the one that I enjoy going to whenever I sort of have to do this is sort of almost like this Mark Hamill Joker type thing. Where I just put a little rasp in my voice, and I go up and down, and it's just a lot of fun to play with. And then when you're in this frame of mind, you're able to do a really good villainous laugh. It's your sort of stereotypical mad villain, and also the sort of gravelly hero who's down here. He's got a deep, butch, manly voice. He's seen a lot of combat, and he's seen a lot of his fellow soldiers fall in the line of duty. But duty calls, and justice never sleeps. Kind of like a Christian Bale gravel.
Love it.
And also for the more sort of wacky things, thanks to Gollum, who plays him again? Andy Serkis. Thanks to his Gollum impression, I was able to sort of experiment with doing his sort of voice that goes here, precious. And then I wasn't aware that my voice could go here, and I'm able to put it higher like this. So he's like a pixie or a fairy. So it's all about playing with it as well. That's how high my voice can go. what else can I do with it? Again, sort of a few impressions here and there. It really does help you sort of go to different places. Like I remember for this one video game, can I talk about this? Yeah, I can. I had to, goodness me, this was a hard request. I had to do 4 different characters in 4 different accents. I had to do an Austrian, I had to do a German, I had to do a Czechoslovakian, Slavic accent.
Yeah.
And thanks to my sort of love of impressions, I was able to sort of jump into characters from those regions of the world. Like for the Czechoslovakian, I adopted this kind of big, beefy voice, which I use a lot from Reinhardt from the Overwatch games. Back away, or we will run you down!
Amazing.
And for the sort of Austrian, I adopted a more vulnerable voice, similar to Nightcrawler from the X-Men, because he himself is German, and I was able to to get into the right accent for him, and play with it a little bit more to make it more original. And the other one, oh yes, and for like this one, I played this great big boss who had a massive gun. And they said we wanted him to have a kind of a Russian accent. So I thought, okay, okay, then I will do Russian accent. I took this voice from this game called Team Fortress. He is known as the Heavy. And he has this big gun called Sasha. I am bulletproof! You know, he's...
Incredible!
There you go. That's a few of my voices that I like jumping to and I think are fun.
Thank you so much, Angus. You have been such a joy to speak to. And before we wrap this up and I let you go, are there any final bits of advice that you would like to give our actors, especially during lockdown right now? There's quite a few actors feeling very low right now and almost, I mean, I know some actors who have even given up. So is there anything you'd like to share?
Goodness me. Heavens above. Well, for those actors out there who are struggling with, you're not alone. We're all in the same boat here. I know it's hard, but we're going to get through this. And the best way of getting through this, from my personal experience, is staying creative. Because if you give up on what feeds your soul, that's just going to make you feel worse. Find in some capacity to sort of do what you love, no matter how small. You know, like I said, create a YouTube channel, start a TikTok account, find a way to channel what you love into some form of self-expression in a virtual capacity, or find a creative outlet in writing a play when all this is over. Shakespeare, he wrote like some of his best work during the plague. Maybe you could do the same, and or learn a second skill, or concentrate on honing your craft. Sit down and read acting books. That's another thing. For those who want to go to drama school, my sort of advice is you don't have to go. Matt Smith, he never went to drama school. He did National Youth Theatre, but my point is, there is nothing that you can learn in drama school that can't be learned in a book. And trust me, you will not have crippling student debt if you just do that. If you just look up, so take this time to sort of learn about Stanislavski, learn about Uta Hagen, learn about Lee Strasberg, you know, and in your room just try their sort of their methodology and see what works for you. But I know, don't give up entirely. I know it's harder than ever, but just show persistence and stay creative, because those are the people that will be remembered when all this is over. Those who didn't let this sort of get them down. So just, yeah, that's my advice really. It's perfectly, I'm not saying deny these feelings. They're perfectly valid, this feeling of helplessness and depression, but channel them into something positive, and who knows what will come out of it.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Angus. I hope you've enjoyed being on my podcast as well. And I hope you've enjoyed this conversation as much as I did. It was really nice to speak to you, because we haven't really been able to be in touch right now.
Yeah, we should do it again sometime.
Yeah, I would love to have you on again. So thank you again, everybody at home, for listening to my podcast. I really hope you enjoyed that. I'm going to leave Angus's information in the description, so please do go find him, check out his show reels, give him a follow, and I will talk to you next time. Thank you and goodbye.